Good evening, everybody. Today is April 1st. This is not a joke. Hannah City Village Council meeting. For everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Be seated. Just a note, congratulations to Chris, Zach, and Eric on your re-election. I voted for you, so you won. No public input. Everybody should have a copy of our March 18th meeting minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
I have a motion by Weaver, second by Pearson. Any further comments, corrections?
I would like to point out that under other business, there is a semicolon between the 6 and 4 and 6:45 p.m. In most conventions, it state that it should be a colon.
I got that.
With a noted correction under other business, the semicolon instead of a colon for the time. Are there any other corrections or changes?
Sticker for you.
Thing you're related.
Right?
If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Treasury report.
Nothing out of the ordinary. Pretty standard stuff. Let me know if you have any questions.
$37,000.
That was engineering for the sidewalk. Yeah.
How much was it? Well, that's the total engineering. They did we had the new water line down here on First Street that we had to go through the EPA on, so we needed their work a little bit on that. We had the big chunk of it was $25,000 or $6,000 for the design of the sidewalk and working through IDOT and all that. There was something else. Oh, they getting the water tower application back together, getting that submitted. What am I missing?
That was about it.
But the big chunk was the sidewalk.
Nothing we haven't talked about. It's all been part of different little things that we've been.
Yeah, it's just that sidewalk was, and it's been a long time that we talked about it way back that we were going to fund that out of economic development money, the engineering for that. We had Gwen had approved that for us, and so we did process it that way. But yeah, that's what that's for. 26 of the whatever 30.
37. Yeah.
So the portion of that engineering can be paid out of the economic too.
Yeah, the 26 would be paid out of the TIF.
I paid it out too and transferred money to other.
The what was I gonna say? Oh, the general, just FYI, when we built the budget, the general engineering dollars that we spent this year, just like on general stuff, we were like under $5,000 or something like that. So now when we do spend, we're spending it on specific projects. You know what I mean? Not just so that number is way down from where it was historically.
Okay, make a motion to approve the treasurer's report and pay all outstanding debts.
Second it.
I have a motion by Pearson, second by Johnson. Any further discussions, comments, corrections? Roll call. Weaver,
Yes.
Miller, yes. Pearson,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Side.
Yes.
Motion carries. Anything under engineering?
Covered under administrative.
Attorney's report, Shauna?
Hi. No, just that we're going to be starting on the remaining sections of the code book soon. So if anybody has any questions or comments that they need to get to Brian before then, just he'll let me know what you have, if there's anything that needs to be discussed or added or anything.
Okay. Any comments for Shauna? Questions? Thank you, Shauna.
Thank you.
Administrative report.
Okay, so what I did is I just kind of took each of the committees and because we have so much going on in each of these areas, I just kind of consolidated into one sheet here for us to look at. So under finance, we voted on that last month. Last meeting. Cassandra's in the process of getting that loaded up into Locus. We are scheduled to go live for the solar on the 10th of April, so I think that's still a good date. But because it's delayed, we need to delay the way the loan is structured, because once you go live, then it's a certain amount of time and then you get your tax credits, right? And those tax credits are what are used to pay for the principal payment. So otherwise we're just paying interest each month, and then, I don't know, 3 or 6 months out, then there's your first principal payment that's due, but we got to align that with when we get the tax credit money, so we can just make that payment and not have to pay anything out of pocket for that. So we've got to restructure the loan to marry it up with that timeline, and he's working on that paperwork now, and I'll have it at the meeting on the 15th. And Denise, that's what I was talking about with the minutes. So we'll vote on it the 15th, and if we approve it, then it's dated for the 16th. They'll restructure the loan, and we've got to give them the meeting minutes that shows we approved it. So I think everything looks pretty good there. Let's hope we get it done by the 10th, flip the switch, and start to get in the savings. And then it's 10 quarters from there that once the 10 quarters are up, it'll all be paid back. Can't believe it, but it's another financial audit. That'll be the week of May 12th. The auditors will be here, so we'll be working through that week. This room kind of fills up with boxes and stuff, and go to ask a lot of questions and so forth. But yeah, we usually don't have any issues, and I don't anticipate any this time as well. And then the appropriations ordinance will come out. We'll need to do that in May. So Cassandra will be working on that, and then get with Shauna to make sure that we've got everything buttoned up the way we need it. I don't know, did anything else on finance that we've been talking about?
I think so.
Sewer, so like we talked about, and you saw all my emails, we had, on the day we had that torrential rain, was it a Wednesday? We had 2 sewers back up on Lakeshore Drive. Well, kind of across from each other, but down one. We had somebody reported through the after hours email, which is exactly what we want. Jim went out and looked. To be honest with you, Jim did see that there were some wipes and some grease in the lift station, but he thought it might have contributed, but it wasn't the root cause. What we think it was just a matter of volume of water coming through the system, and that these 2 people's homes, the elevation of their sewers was probably lower than others, and that's where the least point of resistance that wound up in those 2 locations. We had some miscommunications with one of the individuals, and that's on the staff, in terms of, I think people were thinking because the one house where we lined over their service, and that we kind of agreed to pay for everything. I think people were thinking that maybe that's the way we approach these things, which it's not. The other one we handled a whole lot better. Regardless, I've had several conversations with each of them and worked our way through it. The one individual has followed the way we want the process to work moving forward. He had his line looked at, nothing in his line. Jim looked inside, there's nothing in terms of the foundation water coming into the system or any of that kind of stuff. So we feel pretty good that was an act of God issue probably. I mean, that's the way the insurance companies look at it, that it's just an act of God issue. And again, in my emails, I told you most municipalities send people to their insurance, and we've always tried to find win-win solutions. So the individual where we had the miscommunication, after looking at it, what I believe what happened was when he heard that there was stuff in our system, in his mind, okay, well, that was the village's issue, which really I don't think it was. I don't think that was the root cause. And then there was another issue because it was, well, he was under the impression that he could go ahead and get it taken care of and that we would pay for it like we did the other person's. And again, we consider doing that, but majority of the time go through your insurance and we might help you with your deductible or whatever. Well, he had already gotten the work done and so forth. Now, the good news is the cost of what he had done is not much different than what the deductible would have been anyway. So for the one house, the cost came in at $2231.57, and then for the other house, he had talked about if we would just cover the amount for his deductible to $2,000, that he would be happy. So the way I view these things, and the way I've talked about it with Chris and Ryan and the mayor, is that how do we solve the problem? We've got a problem with these two homes, and how do we treat them fairly and do what's right and so forth. And then how do we fix the process? So once we get to this issue again, we've got a process in place to manage it. So my recommendation is to spend the $4,331.57 on these two homes. The one question I would ask is, okay, do you guys agree with that or not agree with that? If we do it, then I'd probably want to work with Shauna to have some sort of agreement written up that says, we're not admitting any fault. It's we're doing it just to help out, and this is it. We're done. And then, so to me, I guess that's what I would say at this point in terms of handling the issue. Most municipalities, like I said, would just send people on an act of God to their insurance company, and maybe that's what we want to do too. I don't know. I know when I've talked
to our insurance or
to their insurance.
We've had one like this in the past when we went to our insurance, and then after they looked at it, they said it was an act of God. We're not going to pay.
So this happened after the heavy rain?
Yeah. The only other thing that could have contributed, and again, we're guessing, right? But it's a part of the sewer line that we have relined, and then there's a part of it that hasn't been relined. So maybe part of the issue is that we have infiltration that came in from the rain. It goes into the part that's lined. There's nowhere for it to go, where before maybe there was a place for it to go, and it ended up backing up. But that's just speculation at this point. We don't know that. Jim and I were just talking through it. So as Ryan and I have talked about, I don't want to spend $4,000 either, but we don't really have anything that governs that I know about.
After this.
So while we're talking about that, and Shauna brought it up earlier, so the code book, we have 3 sections left of the code book. We've done, section 4 was residents and their properties. Section 5 is businesses and their properties. And section 6 is all of this kind of in-between stuff. So it would be, how do we handle the right-of-ways? Who owns what? Who does what? Who's accountable for what? How do we manage easements? Who owns what? Who's responsible for what? And so forth. And where does our sewer line begin and our water line begin and theirs end, and who's responsible for what in these things? And we've always had plans to put this together, and we've always had thoughts on how we would structure what it would look like. It's just that we haven't done it, don't have it in place. This is the email that I sent out. It kind of shows what we would consider doing, and Title VI for sewers in the future that would govern this. And again, this is a working document, so we can make whatever adjustment or changes that you guys see fit. But basically what we would say is that the homeowner needs to report the issue within 24, if we want to say 48, I don't care. The point is they need to report it quickly so that we can get there and put eyes on it and make sure we see it, so we know exactly what's going on. We would investigate it, and if nothing obvious, then we would require the homeowner at their expense to have their service cleaned. Because if we can't see anything in our system that's causing it, then the next logical thought is it's got to be in theirs, or it's an act of God, right? And again, we can modify this in any way you want. And this is what we did with the second house. They did that. There was nothing. So, and my guess is if they refuse to look at their service in the future, then we would say, well, we can't help you. If we find tree roots or something in their system, then it's their issue and we're done. And if it's not their issue, then we continue to look for root cause and determine whether it was act of God or whether we played a role, if there was some sort of contributing factors or whatever. And then our recommendation would be is we would tell the people that we would pay their deductible up to a cap. And we'd pick a number of, I put $1,500 or $2,000 on here. And if they don't have insurance, then there's really not a whole lot we could do to help. I'm sure they would argue that they would want the money even though they don't have insurance. And that's probably something we need to talk about. Do we only want to pay the deductible, or are we okay just giving them an amount, and whether they pay the deductible or not? We would want proof of that, obviously. And then we would tell them if they have an issue that they need to probably put in a check valve or something to prevent something from happening in the future. But my point would be is in future problems, we wouldn't necessarily have any compensation responsibility.
337 and 446? I
Yeah.
don't see it 446.
It's across the street.
Across the streets, 338, 336, 334.
Maybe I got the number wrong. It's right at the edge of the lake where that, what is that?
So Nick Tyner's house, 406.
Is it 406? Yeah. Now the GIS.
Where does that run? All the way down to the end by his house to that pump station?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you.
I find it funny that they would have troubles and everybody for the next half mile doesn't. At the pump, because there's a pump station right down.
Yeah, the pump station
Down by Donnie Snyder's house.
I understand
How often does that get cleaned out?
what
He said he found some wipes and stuff.
Jim looks at them regularly. I mean, I wouldn't say daily, but I would say certainly weekly.
So I know we've had those couple issues in the past that were totally clogged.
So I think I mentioned this in the email too. The only thing that I don't like is I don't like that the homeowner is refusing to have their service line looked at, because we could find potential issues that could have impact other Hannah City residents. We could have stopped ahead of time. So I feel like if we're adding all this to the code book, we need to put a requirement. You cannot refuse to have your lines looked at. At least it could be full of something that's going to cause his neighbor to have the same problem.
To be able to get money from us.
Exactly. And then the board is on the hook time after time with all these people refusing to have their lines looked at. I know that that's a, perfect world scenario. I see that being an issue that comes up regularly.
I was always under the understanding that unless it was a total blatant issue with the city's main line, that it was too bad, so is that. Sorry about your misfortune.
That's what most municipalities do.
But unless you had a collapsed main line, or a
Yeah,
huge
or if
plug
there
in
was-
a main line, then that's going to affect everybody on the road, not two houses.
Understand. Which is
Then you
why
go paying for them two houses, then you kick the door open to the whole town. Every time somebody's got a little flood problem.
unless we put and vote on the rules in Title VI that say these are the rules moving forward, and then it's
To cover it from here on
Correct.
out.
And we govern it from here on out the way we want it governed.
Right.
And again, our plan was to have all that done in this year. We just ran out of money when we were doing the code book, and so we have 3 titles that aren't done, and unfortunately, this is one of them.
Right.
So, from the homeowner's perspective, they're like, well, we didn't do anything wrong. And again, I guess our position could be neither did we, right?
What's the cleanup that had to happen? Like back up into their basement?
Yeah, they had sewage in their basement. So of the one home, of that 2231, 1,600 of it is having Serve Pro out to get all the junk out and make sure there's not going to have a health issue down the road.
So they didn't even do anything with the lines.
Replacing the floor,
Because the one guy
patch of the floor.
the one guy directly behind them house or in front or whatever,
We've got the receipts.
Derriere's house has that special shut-off valve in it.
Correct.
See, and that's the thing too. Like you just said, it sounds like they corrected like the aftermath, the smell, and the environment. But I believe that's the resident that's refusing to let us look at his line to see what caused the issue.
Yeah. And again, I'm not trying to defend anything. I'm just saying that his position is, well, he in his mind, Jim told him it wasn't his line. It was the pipes and the grease. That's his perception of things. And so why would I spend money to clean my line, because it's obviously not my line, because that's his perception. But again, moving forward, I think that's a requirement, assuming we want to do this in Title VI. That's one of the things we do. If we know it's not a systems issue, the complete issue on our end, we tell them, if you even want access to money, you've got to have yours looked at.
Yeah, so the question here is, do we just want to help these 2 guys out and move forward and correct it after this, or do we want to require some stuff and make them jump through some hoops and cause a little bit of a stir?
Yeah, or the other option is, do we want to do what other municipalities do and say,
Tough luck.
find something you like about it and go through your insurance and make Title VI say that. My perception is, and again, I could be wrong, but my perception is that's not how we've done things historically here, that we've always tried to look for a win-win and find middle ground and solutions for people. But maybe in this instance, that is the right thing to do. I don't know.
Telling them to bite the bullet just doesn't sound like the Hannah City way, right?
I think that's right, but again, that's just
Yeah, I'm in favor of us just biting the bullet now and just making sure it's codified in the future.
I agree.
So what we would have to do, because we can't vote on it tonight because I didn't have it up for a vote, what I would have to do is get the necessary stuff together and do that for the next meeting. Assuming that I've only heard 2 of you say that, but I guess the rest of you can weigh in. That's what you want to do. And then the next question would be, do you want me to work with Shauna to put together a little blurb that says, we're not admitting any wrong, we're
I would say,
helping you out, this is the end of it.
Can we also put in like what if this happens in 2 weeks? It rains again. Do we need to put in a time frame in like a calendar year, or can this become something that?
In my mind, if you read down through this, I'm saying that if they have an issue the first time and they clean it, and then it's their issue, then they have to fix that issue. And then we recommend at that point that they put in a check valve or whatever in order to make sure that it doesn't happen again. But in the future ones, if it's not our issue, we've helped once and now we're done. We've given you the advice, clean your system and put a check valve in, because
But we're not going to help everybody one time if this happens.
Sounds like there's a restriction, right? How close?
I mean,
what we're
if
saying
it's
is
not our fault.
Well, what we're saying here is we've got an issue. How do we solve the problem? This is a suggestion on how to solve this specific problem. Moving forward, when we get Title VI done, the only ones that we would potentially help, and you guys would have to vote on it, is if there was proof it wasn't their issue, and there was some proof that it was at least partially ours.
Okay.
And at that point, the only thing we would do is pay their deductible or with a cap.
I would say it's probably plugged and then flushed out.
But again, we're not under any obligation based upon what I learned from other municipalities to do any of that. But the thing I like about the future process is, to Chris's point, if somebody has an issue, before we would even consider giving them any money, the first step is you got to clean your system, and we got to have somebody present, which we did this time, to determine whether or not you do. And if you have an issue, we're done. Or if you refuse to clean it, we're done.
And it happened at the exact same time? These two houses?
Yes.
Yeah, there's something going on.
And the one guy's been, I shouldn't say that. I mean, we've worked our way through it with these guys. Again, I don't want to spend $4,000 either, but if it's my house, I don't know. And I guess we got pushed. We really don't have the write-ups or the support documentation to support
Either way.
how we handle it. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's, because Jim said something,
Or supposedly.
supposedly said something that kind of does make it sound like it was.
What's the cost to have your lines checked?
You know, I sent a note to the guy today to ask him on the other home how much it cost him, but he didn't
Just
respond
curious.
to me, so I don't know. Do you know? Sewer
I'm
line?
gonna throw out a number, $1,300.
Run a camera.
$800.
They got to bring the big truck out.
I would guess it's
If they
a.
got to clean out, yeah, there's lots of people check cameras.
Or they can get.
I can get you that number when I get it, but
I would say something like to cut, like, you got so long to report it, and the city will pay for half of your deductible, and that's all you're going to get, unless it's
That's if it's our issue.
right. Obviously, the main line was plugged. If it got just them houses, if it's
I know, but
one
Jim
line,
didn't
if
see
it's one
that it
line
was
or the
plugged.
other, it's just going to be that house.
Well, if that,
If where they come into the main, it has to be close to each other to where it just backed up into them two houses, got enough pressure, probably pushed it all through, and that's why I didn't get nobody else.
well, it should have gotten somebody upstream.
Should have. I mean, well,
If it was a clogged main, then it would got
them
everybody.
two houses got to be the first two houses upstream from where the problem was.
yeah, which is why we think it was excessive water went to the low points, right? You don't think so?
Well, each house is
On the one side, the 406.
each house is a little lower than the
On the other
next.
side, I mean, that one's raised up.
It's all got to be downhill from wherever the line starts, wherever it ends up. It all has to be downhill a little.
Unless it's forced, right?
Right. Each house has to be downhill from the house to the main. The main
255.
has to be downhill all the way to the pump
So,
station.
so he's refusing 250.
All he's saying is, why do I need to have my service cleaned when it was your issue? That's all I haven't gone any further with him on that. That's his perception.
He thinks it's our line without a doubt.
I get that. Yeah, it's a big ass.
Unless they share their two lines combined together and then go to the main, which I'm sure that's not the case.
So that's not a whole lot.
That's a lot less than what I thought it was going to be. So
It's a lot less than I thought.
I like the code.
Yeah, I say take care of it and then just make a code. Say we'll pay half their deductible or whatever in the future if you report it. Or
Put a cap on the deductible.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily. I want proof regardless, but we need it for the auditors. But do we care whether or not we pay the insurance company, or we just write them a check for the amount?
Hey, are you asking, do we pay the insurance or reimburse the homeowner?
Correct.
I think I'd rather reimburse the homeowner.
Reimburse the homeowner with proof of.
Yeah.
Yeah, we always look at that.
Yeah, so what were the two addresses again? 336.
406 and 337.
Yeah. And 337.
So I think what I've heard so far is the recommendation to take care of this, whatever $4,300 this time is good. Get Title VI done as soon as possible. We've got it budgeted for next year, and Sean and I have already talked, but I can start working on it. I already have, actually. Get that done, and so moving forward, we've got a policy in place, and that policy you guys would have to look at and vote on. And then have some sort of agreement, simple agreement written from Shauna that basically says, and you know what, to be honest with you, I'm happy to put in the one person's thing. If you don't clean out your main, then we're.
If you're asking for $2,500, you need to. I mean, it's $250, man. Plus, like I said, you might uncover something that is going to impact his neighbor 3 or 4 houses down. I don't know. In my opinion, I still say for $200. If it's $255, I feel like that needs to be an expectation. In my opinion,
And it gives us proof that.
yeah. And like I said, it could uncover bigger problems, bigger issues.
Well, and
One neighbor's line is not gonna make another neighbor's line back up.
I don't know.
I don't know.
If it's just a one house problem,
I don't think he said what the guy.
it could be a problem.
Well, he
in the house
said it
and the
could.
main line.
I think he said
There's 2 houses.
He said it
directly across
generally
each other.
it was taken.
Your sewer line don't affect my sewer line unless they're connected and shared.
But I just mean
But proof would be proof. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're getting money from us, we need proof that it was our problem.
right, especially because I agree, because if it's a one house, that would cover the one house deal. That
I'm not sure
Have
how
need to
taking a
scope.
photo of your sewer line is gonna prove anything.
Well,
Wouldn't it
Triggering
demonstrate
it,
whether the blockage is there or the problem's there in terms of?
If they have a blockage in their sewer line, it shouldn't have come up. It shouldn't come back into their house because there's a blockage there. I mean, for
That's true.
for the water to go in their line, it had to have been a blockage in the main.
I guess if it's possible, though, in this situation, I think I agree with you. And it's possible, though, that if they had a blockage in their thing and they were running sewer down it, their own could back up without going out, correct?
Yeah, but
Or if
I
they
understand this circumstance doesn't fit that.
For that.
or if they have a sump pump hooked up to their sewer line, which they shouldn't have,
Yeah,
That's
this
when they're gonna
circumstance,
get that.
but for the future circumstance.
and they do have
Yeah.
a clog in their line, that's when they could potentially get that backed up too. But yeah, I mean, agree with Rod, if it was.
Jim didn't find a clog anywhere in our stuff. I mean,
Well, blew out.
unless it blew out. I mean, it clogged for a certain amount of time, went there, and then finally blew out.
Might have been those wipes just got caught up on something there, and then
That's what I told him. I said the white problems come from the residents upstream.
We just had that line. It should run pretty smoothly.
so I guess the question then is that just then a act of God then, or is that because nothing really in our system failed.
No. And I don't know why, unless their lines are lower than everybody else.
Yeah, that's what that Dure's issue is his line is lower. So your point is we don't necessarily need to require the
I don't,
cleanup.
like I say, I don't know what that's gonna show.
Yeah.
I mean, because if it backed up into their line
That's only,
obviously wasn't clogged because
that's just
Yeah.
gonna cover, that's gonna cover for when people catch wind that we're paying deductibles. If they just have a normal sewer backup, they're gonna call the
I don't
city.
we
and
shouldn't
blah, blah,
be paying
blah.
deductibles. Unless
It's a city problem.
it's a city problem.
Which is what we're going to write in the new policy. But I guess in this circumstance, I would agree with you. In a future circumstance, I suppose there's a possibility, though, that somebody's sewer backed up, a single house's sewer backed up, and it's because their line is clogged, right?
What he's saying was.
You don't think so?
Well, I don't know how their line being clogged.
No, I'm saying if their line clogs and then they continue to use it and then it backs up into their system, the clog could be in their line, not in ours.
Yeah, but you're not going to get
That
2 inches of water.
I understand. That's right.
2
That's
inches
fair.
of sewage in your basement. You're going to see, a little bit coming out of your drain or something.
I think that's fair.
So could that be a leak in their sewer line, like letting rainwater in?
It's whatever. Yeah. Yeah.
You're
I
gonna
don't know why we
put
got so
running
much
water
water
coming
going
up
through
in
there
your
just because of rain.
Right.
Unless it's infiltration. That's what Jim says, unless there's infiltration
Yeah.
in the
You've
system.
got
That's
that
what I
much
was saying.
infiltration now.
Could it have been?
Because
Something like
even though we had a heavy rain, a lot of that water won't be. I mean, it's going to run off because it's raining so hard and so fast. It's not going to soak in.
So if it was a shared storm sewer drain.
So let me clarify. So are you saying that this is a system error? No, this is our fault. This is a system. I'm okay. I mean, educate
Doesn't
me.
seem like it could be.
Yeah.
I don't know how it went up their drains unless the main was plugged.
Yeah, but I guess if the main is plugged, is that our fault?
Or could it be
Not
back
really.
to God? That's
I mean,
If it was
that
collapsed, yeah.
but it's not.
Somebody's
also
putting
an act
foreign
of God.
material in it. No.
That was also an act of God somehow, that it got clogged.
I think that was just timing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
Unless somebody's got a bunch of sump pumps hooked to it, it shouldn't be that much infiltration. It's a lot.
Yeah, and unless they just got so little fall coming into their into the main that once the main gets full, it's backing up. Even then, though, I don't know why our main's full, just because it rained.
Well, Jim believes, and I don't know whether it's true or not, and I have no way to disprove it, but Jim believes the majority of our infiltration is coming from homes pumping their sump pump into the sewer.
I thought we already
And the only way to
checked all that several years ago. I thought that.
you got me to do every house, that would be tough. I don't know whether that's true or not, but that's Jim's
You have to
perception.
go in and
It's got-
visually inspect.
And there's got to be a lot of sump pumps going in there. If we're getting that much water to back up into.
If it was happening all the time, I might think that. And everybody from there down would you'd have a
because of the
everybody
rain.
involved.
That means sump pump water is going into that main to fill it up so fast.
How many inch main is that? Maybe 6, 8, 10?
You just put an 8
I
inch.
think it's what?
I think it's 6.
I thought that's what I was gonna say. I think it's 6.
Did one of the houses get it worse than the others? Did
It
you
might
see
be.
pictures?
It doesn't. I mean, Jim seemed to think that they were
Pretty consistent.
pretty comparable. Yeah. So, Rod, I want to make sure I understand something.
Yeah.
You don't like the idea of paying. I'm sorry.
The Carroll comes across the dam too. Yeah.
So let's say we had the policy in place that I just suggested. would you be for or against helping pay a portion of their deductible?
Only if the city was at fault.
Yeah.
Well, then that's,
If we could prove the city was at fault.
so then we're back to the question. Like, let's take this example: was the city's systems at fault, or was it an act of God? From the homeowner's perspective, they don't care. They got junk in
The
their
city didn't
basement.
do anything wrong.
Can we prove that we didn't do anything wrong?
Can they prove that we did?
Well, I'm asking
the only-
if we got taken to court.
Yeah, the only thing that's wrong is probably all those people having their sump pumps going into our sewer.
And again, I don't know that that's true, but that's Jim's perception. Maybe it's yours too. I don't know.
Would it be just people on that? Would it just be people that lived in that area by that lift station?
No, the lift station's north. That's downhill from there, so it's gotta be.
I mean, so for that to be right there, would that be just houses right there that are putting into that?
That's what they're just, it's
Well, that's what I'm asking,
all the
is it
houses
just
by the plaza,
those houses? I mean,
bank,
'cause
all that, it all runs down.
then you could narrow that down and have them go look at just those houses. If that's what he's saying.
But it's also, isn't it
Oh, well,
also
that's what I
the
said. I don't
retirement community
understand
out there?
what
Does all that
houses.
come over?
Yeah, but that comes
I'm not
across the
opposed.
dam, so.
Oh, so that's after.
Yeah.
All right, so let's recap here. So to solve, we're good on solving the problem and taking care of these two circumstances. Then, is that right or no?
Yeah, I guess.
And then the future policy, then, Rod, are you arguing that if it's, unless it's clearly our issue, it's use your own home insurance and we're not sharing any of that?
I think so.
And then the question is, how do we prove that? So like, and again, let's take this example. Would we consider this one our fault or no? That's the hard part, right?
See, who has the burden of
Totally
proof?
confused.
Why do we have to prove? Why wouldn't they have to
I mean,
prove?
that's a risk of having a finished basement with a drain in it
Right.
and whatever, I mean.
I hear you. I'm just saying, I just want to make sure we're treating the,
I mean, if a pump goes down, this is just my opinion. If a pump goes down or it collapses and then it backs up, it's our fault. If anything other than that, it's not the city's fault.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Our pump didn't fail. We can't control what every house puts in their drain. And we didn't find a plug, but I don't know.
I hear you.
But I also, like you said, if it was my house, but I mean, that's why you have insurance, for one. I mean, if my sewer backs up and destroys my house, it's my problem. I got septic tank.
But if it backed up and then
Because-
they checked their line and it was clear, and they came back to us and said, hey, it wasn't mine, it had to be something with your guys's, will you help pay my deductible for this?
And our answer is, well, our pumps didn't fail, so no. Or our answer is, our pumps didn't fail, but there must have been a clog on the main, so.
Is it a case by case?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Or a cap, or, again, I think that's the question for the board in terms of how do we want to treat village residents. If you're, like every other municipality, I think does what you guys said. If our pump didn't fail, then it's on your insurance and off we go.
Get a backup
Yep, that's another thing that we could require.
Get a backup what?
valve.
Oh.
A check valve.
Yeah, it can't. That can only go one way.
Oh, okay.
And that's in the policy that we talk about. If it happens, that's a recommendation that we make. Well, we don't have to solve the future thing tonight. I can continue to work on it and put something together for the.
Are the homeowners needing the money now?
Nobody's jumping up and down on it. I mean, I think if we voted on it at the next meeting, and I think they want to know after tonight, and if we're leaning towards we're going to help, then I'll tell them that, and then that we're going to vote on it at the next meeting and go from there. I mean, this is,
I'd say it's their problem.
that's the way, when I called around to some of the municipalities, they were surprised I was asking.
It was a reoccurring event? Maybe? One-time event? Sorry about your misfortune. Price of being a homeowner.
We have other people I don't think feel that strongly, so, but again, we can work on that as we go through the Title VI, how we want to handle that stuff. All right, anything else on that? Jim's got a project that I've got information on that we can talk about at the next meeting. And Chris, I apologize, I just got the stuff in the last couple of days, but we have a building out at the lagoon which houses the pumps that runs the blower motors, and we've done a lot of work on those blower motors. Jim wants to do some work to that structure to keep the bugs out, to put better air conditioning in it to keep the pumps cool, that kind of stuff, and care for the investment that we made just putting those pumps in. The project's, I think it's somewhere around $12,000 to do that, to replace the doors and windows and put in the new air conditioning. I've got the quotes, but I didn't have it on for a vote this meeting. I'll put it on for the next one. So something to think about in terms of the context of all the other money that we're looking at spending. I would say it's, Jim would say it's a need to have. I would say maybe not as much as that, but I'd like to do it for him if we think we can. But
Where would that come out of?
we'd probably take it out of the lagoon capital. I don't know how much money we have in there, but we probably got 100,000 or so. I would guess.
Speaking of lagoon, I know you said bugs. We're coming up on the time of year that we usually get that swarm.
Yeah, I know they started to put the
What'd you call it?
midges.
Midges?
They're little tiny bugs.
You weren't here. Midge.
Oh, get ready, they're coming.
Oh, yeah.
They don't come up as far as our house.
They only do it
They
a
don't
day,
get up to
but there's
your
So
nothing.
those are the little little black mass that fly in the
No.
They look like mosquitoes, basically.
Huh. Sorry. Excuse me, I didn't mean to interrupt.
They
They
cover
I've
up.
never heard of midges.
They've started putting cakes out or whatever.
Yeah.
And they actually just were like a light.
Oh, and we're putting in another light near that house. Solar's scheduled to go live on April 10th, and then we'll fill out the paperwork after that, and that should start that whole process, so that's good. The water tower loan application was finalized and submitted, so we're in the queue. Planning and zoning, we're starting to get pre-annexation requests. Every once in a while when we get requests, I look at the possibility of connecting dots, and we may have an opportunity to connect the dots to bring in, could be as many as 18 homes in Eden that would become fully annexed. There's one home that I've got to work on. It's last name is Shoemaker. Does that ring a bell for anybody? I thought somebody knew him that might be an in to talk to, but I think that's the one house that's. If they were willing to do it, I think we can connect the dots. And
It's a farm field.
Grow our empire.
no, it's a house.
Stretch our fingers.
That's right.
Buildings and grounds. So I've got a meeting with Ergonomic Partners, the people who were talking about wanting to buy the Public Works building. The mayor and I, that's on April 14th, and we're going to start talking about that. I've not heard back about the real estate back there that we were looking at potentially buying, but I've told them that I've got a meeting on the 14th, and I'd like to know something by that meeting. And then we've got a meeting, tomorrow, with Farnsworth here to talk about if we were going to. Last meeting we talked about doing one big building and just looking at what that might look like to design that.
Did we hear anything from the last meeting that where our well and stuff is?
I had the conversation with the guy from Peoria County. I'm under the impression that they don't want to give it back to the state. They want to keep it and control it and look for ways to find grants and stuff to clean it up. And I told them our wish would be to, once it's cleaned up, we would like to, just like you, we'd like to get out of it and turn it over to somebody else. So that's kind of where that stands. And then I was talking to Gary Dooley, who was interested to some degree in that property as well, and he knew where some grants and stuff, so I had sent that information to Peoria County. So it's kind of in their hands, but they kind of know where we stand.
Okay.
Yep. Streets and alleys. The MFG program was approved by IDOT, so that's a go once this summer when Porter Brothers is ready. I know, Rod, you went out with Roger and looked at the alleys and stuff, and so we're finalizing quotes from 3 different vendors to look at how we might want to do those. You helped him with get clarification on probably the best path forward, so thank you for that. But we got to get we're waiting on just one person's quote. They only gave us they didn't give us all the streets. They only gave us a portion of the streets, but we want to be able to compare apples to apples. But once we get that, I'll bring that back to one of these meetings for a vote. 116 sidewalk was approved by Casey's. We sent them an easement document to sign, allowing it to go through and be the way we want it. So now we're just waiting on IDOT and their approval to do that. We've got 3 commercial grant applications and 2 possible residential grant applications. They're due at the end of April, so if you know anybody that wants a grant, make sure they turn it in. And then we'll probably have a meeting with the CEDC in May to review everything with them and get their recommendations and then come back for you guys to vote on. We are starting to redo code books 2, titles 2, 5, and 6. 2 is zoning and all of the building code. So that's the big one. 5 is businesses, like we did with residential. What governs the businesses? And then 6 is the one we just talked about that I'll make the priority and do first.
And what is our current building code that we adopted from Illinois State?
It's 2013. I talked to Matt, our inspector. We had a meeting with him, and his opinion is we should just have our code should be. Should just take whatever the most recent one is for Peoria County. Mm-hmm. Hold on. And then in the rest of our code book, make that supersede it if it conflicts.
Okay.
Makes sense?
Because I know a lot of the Illinois building code, like on even new residential, makes you put in sprinklers.
Correct. So he brought that specific.
Not that I'm against sprinklers. But
No, he brought that specific example up, and he said it in the other parts of we can either modify it, or in the other parts of our code book we can have it superseded by other stuff. But yes, there are some things we would need to work through on that. Rental property registrations. So we voted to do those, and we're putting a letter together to send those out. It's only $50 a property, or $100 if it's a multi-unit. But we just want the name, contact information, all that stuff, and they'll register once a year. That way we have good information on each of the properties. And then, since we just had an election, in election years, we normally do community nights. So we're looking for probably a Wednesday on an off meeting week in either May or June. And we'd probably do it at the Sportsman's Club again. Would like all of you guys there. Basically what we do is we have your staff counterparts sit with you and just have kind of an open house, have some hors d'oeuvres, and let people come, give out free t-shirts, and then they can ask whatever questions they want to of you. Just making ourselves available to, last time we had 70 people, something like that, show up.
We had people sign up for automatic ACH withdrawal. We had people sign up for mid-century stuff. So I had somebody ask me today at voting. He says, "It's the only check I write every month. This is Hannah City. Can't you guys just take it out of my account?" It's like, "Yeah, we've been." He goes, "When did you do that?" I said, "Like 3 years ago, 4 years ago." So then you just come up and sign the paperwork.
Yeah, I know every time we have somebody new come in, they give them a welcome packet and get them hooked up with all that stuff. And I think she told me, I think the last time I asked her, just in the time Sarah's been here, I think we've had, another 30 people or so sign up for the e-billing and automatic payment and stuff like that. So we're slowly getting there. I know that's a lot that we just went through, and we got a lot going on. The reason I brought up the thing about that lagoon building is, I mean, if I keep saying it, but if we queue up everything and the water tower comes through, I know we can handle it. We can. I think we've got the money to do it, but you know, that $2 million almost that you see on the Illinois fund sitting in there, half that's going to be spent doing these things, which is going to impact the income that we get off that and so forth. And that's not a bad thing because we're doing a lot of good things. But I just want to make sure I'm saying that so that.
Well, you need to ask him did it need repaired last time because these bugs were getting into it?
Well, one is old. Two, we put all that money into the pumps and that kind of stuff. So he wants to protect that. You know, keep the bugs out the best he can and cool it. So I think that's where he's coming from before summer hits.
I'm all for protecting the city's assets, especially if we put a lot of money into it to improve it. So
yeah, we're not a for-profit business, right? We're not trying to collect money, but there is something comforting in making $7,000, $8,000 a month just off your money.
Mm-hmm.
All right, saves the taxpayer, so
it does. But and it puts us in a position where we can do the things
more for the taxpayer,
like we're doing. So, anything else for me?
I just had, what was number 6, code book title?
I don't think we have a title for it yet. So it's
I'll just leave the numbers.
Yeah, it's just kind of the in-between stuff. I don't know what the call it is.
Miscellaneous.
Maybe Public Works.
Okay. Thank you.
anything else, Brian?
I don't think so.
So you don't think so?
No.
Okay. Then we'll go on to committee reports. Mr. Pearson, Finance?
I think we covered everything.
Planning and Zoning? Mr. Johnson? Sanitary Sewer, Chris Johnson?
nothing. All covered in the report. Same with water.
Okay. Buildings and Grounds, Mr. Weaver?
Nothing to report.
Streets and Alleys?
Looks like there's a tree on
Rumpel.
128 Runkle.
So this is in front of the house that we had the barrels and all that stuff that's finally gotten cleaned up. The tree in front is dead. In the last storm, a bunch of it came down and we got all that cleaned up. So this is not an emergency. I don't think the tree's going to fall or anything like that, but
It's on our side of the sidewalk?
it's in the right of way. Yep. So the question is, do we want to do it now or do we want to wait and see how other things land? Or I don't think, like I said, I don't think it's an emergent issue, but when Roger looked at it after cleaning up the mess from the last storm, he was like, the house has been all cleaned up. You know, this dead tree's now out in front. We got stuff falling off of it, so it needs to be cleaned up. Whether you want to do it now or wait is up to you guys.
I say go ahead and take care of it now.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. So we got the quote from Buzz Kurtz. What is it?
Yeah.
2875.
Yeah, make a motion that we approve the 2875 to Buskirk to take care of the tree at 128 Runkle.
What's the cutoff for quotes to having to have 2 instead of 1? Like, isn't there a dollar amount associated with that if it's over
25 grand.
Okay.
And then I think we have to have 3 at that point. You guys are familiar? Are you guys familiar with that giant tree on Main Street next to between the firehouse and?
Yeah, I just saw that today. We're driving by. It fell.
Yeah, that thing's huge. Anyway, that's one of the residential grants that's being looked at, is to take that tree's dead and it's probably dangerous. So
I have motion by Weaver. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Pearson. Everybody knows what we're voting on. Move the tree for $28.75 by Buzzkirks at 120. Excuse me. To move the tree at 128 Runkle. It's in the right of way for $28.75. No further discussion. We'll roll call it Pearson.
Yes.
Actually, I did that wrong. I apologize. So roll call would be Miller.
Yeah.
Pearson.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Sidak.
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
Motion carries. Sorry, Eric. Forgot all about you. Anything else under streets and alleys, Ron?
You're going to kill him. Did I say that out loud?
That's banged up.
CEDC.
How they drove work?
Administration, Mr. Miller.
Let's see, from 316 to 322, 6 calls. For 911 hang up, 2 investigation follow-ups, 2 county fires. That's one there. And then from 326 and 327, there was 4 calls. Animal, motor vehicle property damage, reckless driver, and suspicious. That's all I could find.
I also put under administration. So in the budget that we talked about and voted on last time, I think I told you I put a 3% increase for the staff assumption into that budget. And then also taking Sarah, which we normally do with people in that job after, usually I think it's 6 months, but we take them up $1 an hour. So 3% for the staff plus the $1 an hour increase for Sarah is, we need to vote on that so that we can put it into the system so it's ready on May 1, first payroll. The cost of that is $95.41. That's what that costs. So up to this point, in the way of background, is we've done a lot of things, but we've done a lot of work, I think, to get everybody to market-based pay. And I think we're at a place now where if we just kind of do the regular percentage on an annual basis, we'll keep up with inflation and
95.41 is for the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that includes, Sarah doesn't get the 3%, she just gets the first.
She gets the $1 an hour from $18 to $19 an hour, and then we just applied 3% to everybody else. So the total of that was $95.41 annually. I guess we have details on a spreadsheet if you want to see that. You want us to print that?
No, maybe not, because we already went through all that. Months ago.
Honestly,
I think Jeff
we're
was still here, wasn't he?
I think we're to the point now where if we just stay the course on an annual basis, we're in good shape.
Yeah.
I think we're market-based competitive. I think we're right where we need to be. And
So what's it called?
So I will entertain a motion to, for staff annual compensation for 3% across the board for all of our employees except for
Utility clerk.
utility clerk, which would be her
First raise.
first initial raise of $1 per hour.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Sidak, second by Pearson. Any further questions or comments? And now we'll roll call it. Pearson.
Yes.
Johnson.
yes,
Sidak.
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
Miller.
Yeah.
Motion carried. Just got it down in time.
Barely.
I think that's everything.
Oh, don't forget your economic statement.
And who do you need them from?
They know who they are.
You never responded to my email. You got mine, right? I sent it to you.
Okay, so you got everybody's but Erickson. Zach's. I'm Ryan. Whoa, you're a slacker. I had faith in you.
He's even the finance.
Been busy.
Well, I know, that's why they give you 3 months
We'll get
to
there.
do it.
Wait, when does it do?
Should even got one in the mail.
It's due at the end of April.
Oh, so I got
Yeah, yellow sheet of paper.
If it's not done by the next meeting.
Yeah, $500 they take your kids, all that good stuff.
So if nobody has anything else to come before the board, our next meeting is April 15th, 2025, 6 p.m. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
I'll reach out to you on these action items that I need your help with.
Okay.
I know yours is
Yep.
done.
You guys, thank you.
It's fine, as long as